attempt to win by force what can be won by deception.
Every man dreams of victory, but few ever taste exile. Today you will hear the voice of the one who lost everything, tortured, broken, abandoned, and returned not as a victim, but as the architect of power itself. This is the forbidden knowledge of Machiavelli. Listen closely, because once you hear it, you cannot go back.
Block 1. The Forge of Exile. They thought exile would silence me. They thought pain would bury me. But every scar became an eye. And with those eyes, I saw deeper into power than any man alive. Do not picture me as a scholar in comfort. Picture a man dragged from his bed at dawn, beaten, bound, stripped of dignity, then cast aside like refuse. Most men, shattered like this, would beg for mercy. Most would rot in despair, asking themselves, where did it all go wrong? But exile does not destroy. Exile forges. I remember the farm outside Florence where they threw me. The nights were cold, the ground unforgiving. Every sound of the city in the distance reminded me of what had been stolen. I should have cursed them. Instead, I studied them. I dissected the men who crushed me. The Medici, with their velvet masks of piety and their steel hands of control. Their smiles were daggers. Their forgiveness was poison. I mapped their psychology like a physician maps disease. I learned how power truly moved, not by chance, but by calculation, deceit, and ritual cruelty. I turned pain into a laboratory. Every humiliation became an experiment. Every scar became data. And from those experiments, I built a weapon, a manual so cold, so merciless, that rulers feared even to hold it in their hands. The Prince. Do not misunderstand me. It is not a book of healing. It does not forgive. It does not comfort. It is architecture. It is a fortress built from cruelty, treachery, and deceit. A fortress so strong, no man could ever break me again. And if you listen closely, you will build the same fortress inside yourself. Because here is the truth. Life will try to break you. Your enemies will try to break you. Your friends may betray you. If you only study pain, you will remain a victim. If you study power, you will never be broken again. Exile was my tomb, and I chose to rise from it as a weapon. Now it is your turn. If you are ready, write this below. I study power, not pain. Block 2. Fortune and chaos. Most men call it chaos. They think life is random. They call themselves victims of bad luck, of accidents, of storms. But I saw deeper. I called it by its true name. Fortune. Fortune is not luck. It is a hostile river, overflowing, destroying everything you built when you were unprepared. Every betrayal you suffered, every plan that collapsed, every time the ground broke under your feet. That was fortune at work. Most people think chaos cannot be predicted. That is why they lose. But I learned, fortune is brutal and predictable. Like a river, it floods at the wrong moment. But the flood was always foreseeable. And those who are swept away are those who never built the dam. I remember watching it in Florence. Merchants who grew rich in times of calm, laughing at warnings, only to see their fleets swallowed by sudden storms they could have prepared for. Nobles who believed their allies unshakable, until a single rumor toppled their alliances overnight. Even princes, crowned in gold, found themselves begging when fortune rose against them, because they had built walls of hope instead of defenses of strategy. I saw the pattern. I measured the flood, and I realized, fortune controls half of your life. Only half. The other half is yours, and that half is where virtue lives. Not Sunday virtue, not morality preached by priests. Virtù is raw force of will, the ability to impose order in a hostile world, to anticipate patterns, to build defenses, to strike when chaos reveals its weakness. Think of your own disasters. The friend who betrayed you had shown cracks for months. The relationship that imploded had been crumbling long before it collapsed. The opportunity you lost carried warnings you chose to ignore. Fortune respects audacity. I wrote it plainly. Fortune favors the bold, not the cautious, not the pious, the bold. Weak men build walls and pray. Powerful men build dams and redirect the flood. So I ask you, while life is calm, what are you building? Are you waiting for chaos to test you? Or are you designing the system that bends chaos to your will? Because fortune is always watching, always waiting for your complacency. And when you relax, she strikes. I saw it happen to men greater than you, greater than me. But those who dared to act, those who refused to wait, they bent the river, and fortune knelt. So I ask you again, will you keep praying for safety while fortune sharpens her knives? Or will you rise and design the storm yourself? If you are ready to stop begging for protection and start seizing control, write this below. I do not pray to survive the storm. I become the storm. Block 3. The theater of appearances. Men are blind. They do not see truth. They see masks. I learned this not from books, but from the palaces of Florence. I watched men rise, not because they were good, but because they seemed good. I watched rulers play at mercy while their hands dripped with blood. I saw merchants kneel in church at dawn, only to cheat their partners by night, and the crowd loved them for it. I understood. Men judge more by the eyes than by the hands. What they see matters more than what is. This was my weapon. As Secretary of the Republic, I often carried messages to men who despised me. If I had shown my contempt, they would have crushed me. So I put on a mask. I appeared humble when I was calculating. I appeared loyal when I was already planning the next move. It was not hypocrisy. It was survival. So hear me now. Appearances are not decoration. They are shields. They are daggers. And you must master them, or you will be mastered by those who do. There are 5 sacred appearances you must learn to wear: merciful, faithful, honorable, just, religious. Do not be them. Seem them. Because here is the brutal truth. If you are truly merciful, truly faithful, truly just at all times, you will be destroyed by those who are not. The fox will eat the lamb. The wolf will slaughter the shepherd. Power is not about what you are. It is about what they think you are. I saw generals project calm while they were consumed by fear. I saw princes radiate generosity while plotting the ruin of their allies. And the people, what I called the vulgar masses, believed every moment of it. This is your advantage. The crowd hungers for illusions. They are too busy, too distracted, too desperate to search for truth. Show them confidence, and they will assume competence. Show them piety, and they will assume morality. Show them serenity, and they will never suspect the storm inside you. But remember this: you must change your mask as the moment demands. Show mercy without losing the power to be cruel. Show loyalty without losing the freedom to betray. Show piety without ceasing to calculate. Your reputation becomes your sharpest blade. Men react to who they think you are, and by the time they discover the truth, you have already won. Control perception, and you control reality. If you are ready to design what they see, instead of waiting to be understood, write this below. They see what I allow. They believe what I design. Block 4. The lion and the fox. There are 2 ways to fight. By law, like men. By force, like beasts. I wrote it in my exile, but I learned it in the palaces of power, and I saw the truth. No man survives with one nature alone. The lion is strength, raw, decisive, terrifying. I saw it in Cesare Borgia when he crushed rebellion with a single stroke. No hesitation, no negotiation. The lion makes men tremble, but lions have a fatal weakness. They do not see the trap until it snaps shut. I watched powerful captains march into ambushes because they believed strength alone was enough. I saw proud nobles roar in court, blind to the daggers being drawn behind them, and every time, the lion died in chains. That is why you must also be the fox. The fox sees the snare before the paw is caught. The fox reads the room, senses betrayal before the words are spoken. I remember nights in Rome watching cardinals smile across the banquet table, but their eyes betrayed conspiracies. Only those who thought like foxes left those tables alive. But the fox has his weakness too. Cunning cannot defeat a wolf in open battle. A fox can see the trap, but he cannot break it. And I saw many clever men, brimming with schemes, torn apart when strength was demanded. Here lies the secret. You must be both. Lion and fox, strength and cunning. Roar when the enemy tests your patience, vanish when the dagger is drawn. Most men are predictable. They are always aggressive, or always cautious, always trusting, or always suspicious. That is why they fall. You will be different. You will analyze first, then strike with the nature the moment demands. When the threat is visible, be the lion. When the threat is hidden, be the fox. This is the nature of power. To adapt faster than the enemy can calculate. If you are ready to stop being predictable, if you are ready to become the predator who shifts shape, write this below. I am the lion that strikes and the fox that escapes. Block 5. Cruelty well used. Men fear cruelty. They call it monstrous. They call it evil. But I saw it used as a scalpel, quick, precise, decisive. And in the right hands, it became the most efficient tool of power. I witnessed it with Cesare Borgia. He inherited a land drowning in rebellion, chaos, and blood. If he ruled gently, he would be devoured. So he unleashed Ramiro de Orco, a man of ruthless will, and gave him absolute authority. De Orco crushed the province with pure terror. Heads rolled, families trembled, order returned. But soon, the people began to hate Borgia for the cruelty of his lieutenant. And here came the masterstroke. One morning, de Orco was found cut in half in the public square, executed not by rebels, not by rivals, but by Borgia himself. One act, many goals achieved. The people felt avenged. Borgia seemed just, and every other commander learned what awaited those who exceeded their orders. This was cruelty well used, swift, final, and then transformed into advantage. Most men do the opposite. They threaten but do not strike. They punish halfway, leaving wounds festering. They give second chances to those who have already revealed their treachery. That is cruelty badly used, hesitant, repeated, growing worse over time. It creates more enemies than it destroys. So learn this principle. When you cut, cut completely. No gradual retreat, no contradictory signals, no open doors for maybe later. Make it so clean, so decisive, that every witness understands the standard. The point is not to be cruel. The point is to be clear. One decisive act teaches 100 lessons. One public example prevents 1,000 future tests. When people see that you follow through, they stop testing your limits. I saw it in Florence, too. Men who punished halfway were mocked. Men who struck once decisively were obeyed. It was not fear alone. It was respect born of clarity. If you are ready to stop making threats you will not carry out. If you are ready to make decisions that endure, write this below. I strike once. The lesson lasts forever. Block 6. Human nature as code. You want to know the darkest truth I ever learned? It is this. Men are not noble. They are ungrateful, fickle, liars, deceivers. They crave profit, and they vanish at the first sign of danger. I did not learn this in theory. I learned it in Florence, watching allies swear eternal loyalty at the banquet table, and betray that loyalty before the wine was dry. I learned it in Rome, where cardinals smiled like fathers, and then sold their faith for coin in the shadows. I learned it in my own chains, when men I had served for years denied even knowing me once I fell. This is not cynicism. It is code. It is the program that drives human behavior. Watch betrayal. Watch a broken promise. Watch someone put their comfort above your trust. You will always see the same line of code. Self-interest above all. Here is why this matters. If you build your life on the assumption that people are good, you are building on quicksand. But if you design your systems to work with human selfishness instead of against it, you become unbreakable. That is why I wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Gratitude expires, love is conditional, but fear and respect, those last. Men break promises when it profits them, but they do not risk their lives when consequences are real. That is why gratitude fades, but fear endures. I saw it 1,000 times. the debtor who vanished once his pockets were full, the ally who forgot your kindness the moment you weakened, the friend who dined with you today and whispered to your enemies tomorrow. It is not personal. It is the algorithm. So you must stop expecting men to transcend their nature. They will not. Instead, build your system around it. Create mutual benefit, not one-sided favors. Command respect with strength, not affection with kindness. Design relationships where betrayal costs more than loyalty. Do this, and men will obey their own nature while serving your strategy. Ignore this, and their nature will devour you. If you are ready to stop dreaming of what men should be and start using what men are, write this below. I do not hate their nature. I exploit it. Block 7. Turning pain into tactical intelligence. Most men treat pain as punishment. They curse it. They drown in it. They waste it. But I discovered a secret in the darkest hours of my life. Pain is not punishment. Pain is data. I learned this in the dungeons of Florence. Stripped, bound, stretched on the rack, I felt every bone scream. The guards thought they were breaking me. But while my body tore, my mind observed. I watched how they applied pressure, when they increased it, when they paused. They thought they tortured me. I was studying them. Later, in exile, every humiliation became a lesson. Every letter ignored, every ally who turned his back, every smile that vanished when I lost my position. All of it became notes in my invisible book. Each betrayal revealed a pattern. Each disappointment exposed a weakness in my defenses. Every scar became an early warning system for the next attack. This is the protocol. Do not simply feel pain. Interrogate it. Ask, what weakness did this expose? What blind spot allowed this blow? What pattern did I ignore because I wanted to believe words instead of actions? The friend who abandons you after you help him, he has taught you that generosity without strength breeds contempt. The ally who sides with your enemy, he has taught you that loyalty without fear is worthless. The opportunity lost because you hesitated, that is a masterclass in the cost of indecision. Every scar is tuition paid. The only question is whether you will learn the lesson. I saw it in others too. Fools repeated their mistakes, calling it bad luck. The strategic turned their scars into shields and never fell the same way twice. The wise man learns from his errors. The strategist learns from the victories of his enemies. So I tell you, stop treating pain as suffering. Start treating it as intelligence. If you are ready to turn every scar into an advantage, write this below. Every betrayal is a lesson. Every lesson is power. Block 8. The fortress of the mind. Most men think protection means walls. They hide, they isolate. They think distance equals safety. They are wrong. The true fortress is not stone. It is standards. And standards become the sharpest weapon of all. I learned this after exile. When I was cast out of Florence, stripped of position and power, men who once filled my home with flattery suddenly disappeared. But in that silence, I discovered something priceless. Access is the rarest currency. From then on, I treated my mind as sovereign territory. Not everyone receives a visa. Not everyone enters the inner court. The protocol is simple, but merciless. Every person, every conversation, every invitation must be weighed by one question. Does this strengthen me, or does it scatter me? If a man brought confusion, chaos, or emotional storms into my circle, I did not argue. I did not explain. I gave him distance. This is what I came to call the mirror effect. Your clarity becomes a mirror that forces others to see themselves. The manipulator sees his own games. The weak see their own desperation. The toxic feel the poison dripping from their own mouths. Most cannot bear their reflection. They will accuse you. You have grown cold. You have changed. Of course I changed. I raised the price of admission to my life, and they could not afford it. But the strong, the rare ones, they respected the boundaries. They valued the standards. They recognized that a man who guards his peace is a man worth knowing. This is how you build a fortress no enemy can breach. Not with walls, but with unbreakable terms. So I tell you, treat your attention as the treasure it is. Not everyone is worthy to spend it. If you are ready to make your mind sovereign territory, write this below. My mind is sovereign territory. Intruders are expelled. Block 9. The gravity of presence. Power is not only what you say, it is what you radiate in silence. I saw this in the courts of Florence. There were men who spoke endlessly, trying to impress. They filled the air with words, desperate to be noticed. And the more they talked, the weaker they appeared. But then there were others. Men who entered the room and said almost nothing. Yet every head turned, every conversation paused. Their silence weighed more than speeches. I remember one council meeting where a young advisor rattled on, citing names, numbers, and empty arguments. He left the room convinced he had won respect. But I saw the faces of the elders. They dismissed him as a child. Then an older statesman, who had barely spoken, leaned forward, delivered 2 sentences, and the decision was sealed. His presence, not his words, had already made him king of that chamber. Understand this: your presence is currency. If you spend it everywhere, it becomes cheap. If you guard it, if you make it scarce, it becomes priceless. The masses believe influence is noise. The strategist knows influence is gravity. You do not chase attention. You let it orbit around you. So train yourself. Enter a room slowly. Speak less than they expect. Hold eye contact longer than comfort allows. And never explain more than necessary. Men will fill the silence with their own fear. They will assume you know more than you reveal. And they will grant you power you did not even demand. I lived this as a diplomat. In Rome, I spoke less than the cardinals. I listened, I observed, I weighed each gesture. They grew uneasy, filling the void with words they should have kept. By the time I finally spoke, I had already extracted their secrets. Presence is not noise. Presence is control. If you are ready to stop begging for attention and start commanding it with silence, write this below. My silence has gravity. My presence bends the room. Block 10. The prison of promises. There is no prison more cruel than the one you build with your own tongue, and the bars of that prison are promises. I saw it countless times in Florence. Nobles under pressure, merchants drowning in debt, all of them desperate to buy time. And so they promised. Gold they did not have, troops they could not raise, alliances they could not honor. In the moment it seemed clever. The crowd applauded, the allies relaxed, the enemy hesitated. But time is the one creditor who always collects. And when the day of reckoning arrived, those promises became chains. They collapsed under the weight of their own words. I remember one Florentine noble, cornered in his palace by creditors and enemies. He swore that mountains of gold would arrive, if only they stood with him. They believed. They waited. And when the gold never came, his name became mud. His word became worthless. His life ended in disgrace. I saw the same in Rome. Cardinals swore loyalty to 3 different factions at once, believing they could balance all sides. For a while they shone. But once the truth surfaced, they were ruined. Not for lack of ambition, but for excess of promises. Here is the lesson. Every promise you make writes a contract in blood. Break it, and your credibility dies. A man with no credibility commands no trust, no obedience, no future. So do as I learned to do. Promise little, deliver much. Let your results surprise. Let your silence build anticipation. And when you exceed expectations, your word becomes iron. The fool thinks words are free. The strategist knows every word is collateral. If you are ready to stop chaining yourself with empty vows, if you are ready to make your word as rare as gold, write this below. I promise little. I deliver more. Block 11. The silence of power. Weak men cannot bear silence. They rush to explain, to justify, to defend. They believe words will save them. But I have seen silence do what 1,000 speeches could not. In Florence, I watched officials accused of failure. They spoke endlessly, listing excuses, drowning in arguments. The more they explained, the guiltier they appeared. Their words were nails in their own coffins. But the rare ones, the men of weight, when accused, they said almost nothing. They let time, results, or sheer presence defend them. And the prince respected them more for it. I lived this myself. As secretary, I was often questioned, even humiliated. But I learned. If I justified myself too eagerly, I confirmed suspicion. If I held my silence, they wondered what I knew, what I planned, what I concealed behind my eyes. Silence created mystery. Mystery created fear. And fear is stronger than argument. Understand this. Power does not beg to be understood. Power does not plead for fairness. Power acts, and then allows others to choke on their questions. The masses want clarity. Give them silence instead. Your enemies want confession. Give them silence instead. Your rivals want proof of weakness. Give them silence instead. Words are like arrows. You cannot recall them once released. But silence is a fortress. It reveals nothing, while forcing everyone else to reveal themselves. So train yourself. Resist the urge to explain. Let results be your advocate. Let mystery be your ally. And let silence be your shield. If you are ready to replace excuses with presence, write this below. My silence protects me. My results define me. Final block. The oath of ruthlessness. Exile was meant to break me. Torture was meant to silence me. Betrayal was meant to bury me. But each wound became a page. Each scar became a weapon. I did not rise again through kindness. I did not endure through mercy. I endured because I chose ruthlessness. Do not misunderstand me. Ruthlessness is not cruelty for its own sake. It is clarity sharpened to a blade. The clarity to see men as they are, not as you wish them to be. The clarity to strike once, decisively, instead of bleeding slowly through hesitation. The clarity to cut away weakness, even when weakness wears the face of a friend. I saw too many in Florence destroyed by their softness. They forgave traitors who betrayed again. They promised more than they could deliver. They clung to illusions of loyalty while daggers hovered behind their backs. They broke. I did not. You must decide now which road you take. Either you break under the weight of betrayal or you become ruthless. There is no middle ground. Do not pray for safety. Do not beg for fairness. The world offers neither. Instead, become the storm that others pray to survive. Become the shadow that bends fortune to your will. Become the fortress that cannot be breached. This is the oath of ruthlessness. Never waste pain. Never waste betrayal. Never waste silence. Forge them all into power. If you are ready to stop breaking and start ruling, seal it now in writing. Write this below. Either I break or I become ruthless. I choose ruthless.